Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and with the kind permission of Your Excellency, the Chairman, I'd like to call on Professor Erosa Osagai. You can unbuckle your belt now and walk down the aisle to pick the mic. It's safe to fly this way. Thank you, sir.
If we were in the southern parts of Africa, we will celebrate today with this mobilization cry. Sister Lindy, you will join me. Amanda. 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 That's a welcome to this occasion. Today, we, as the NIIA, are very distinguished and pleased to have inside one assembly Professor Bolade Akinyemi, the man who taught the world how to bring the concert of million powers together, and the one who held foreign policy the way Kissinger held foreign policy in the United States of America. We also have Allen Oyama, this man who is redrawing the contours of non-state actors in our country. We have inside this same assembly Chairman Christian Chukwu, Professor Bruce Ijirigo, the sportsman who is a professor of geology. We have inside here Dr. Ndanusa, the man who played tennis and represented this country, who became the Minister of Sports and is today representing the Echunupe. We have here our dear Royal Highness, the Irelu herself. We have here the Yaoge, the great legendary of Benson. We have here from across our continent, Ron Freeman, the man who shook the world in 1968, and the history books changed forever. We have here the man who was a soldier in Tanzania, who first burnt the tartan tracks in 1973 at the All-African Games here in Lagos in Nigeria, and went ahead to beat the world at both the Commonwealth Games and the Olympics, the great Philbert Bayi. We have in the larger hall on the other side, you won't see them, Obisi Anwakba, who was one of the youngest members of the contingent in 1976 at the Montreal Olympic Games. Godwin Obasogie. We have there Gloria Ayolaja, as she was then called, but now Gloria Obajimi, the one who preferred to run without the spiked shoes and beat the world. Under one roof, we have the Honorary Consul of Trinidad and Tobago to Nigeria, Colonel Vaughn, and his wife, who speaks better French than I have ever seen. The NIA greets you all. You're all welcome to this great occasion. Why are we gathered here? In 1976, young men and women who were world beaters at that time, having trained for so long, some from secondary school days, some from the United States, and so on, trained for so long and were waiting to beat the world all round in athletics, in boxing, in swimming, and in football, amongst many others. They were gathered on the eve of the declaration of the Olympics open, and suddenly they were summoned to a meeting and given 1 hour within which to pack their things from the Games Village and get on the flight back to Nigeria. Why? Because the power of sports had been recognized and put on full display. It was time to let the world know that the things that bullets couldn't win, the hearts and minds were there to win. If South Africa was not going to transform because of the sanctions and all of those things, and New Zealand had decided to lead a team to engage South African sports, it was time to boycott the games. And the whole of Africa boycotted the Montreal Olympics in 1976. Many of these young people were very disappointed. They were angry. Some of them never went back again to sports. That 47 years ago. They still hurt. And they are saying they were deprived and denied the opportunity for the world to recognize that Nigeria would have produced the first gold medals from the Montreal Olympics. When we say the labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain, we also are saying the sacrifices of our heroes past shall never be in vain. These people all sacrificed. When we speak to them, they say, we didn't know what we were doing, but they were doing sacrifice for motherland and for Africa. And I want to assure them that the healing has started. So for those who still hurt, the reward is here. And we are grateful to God. Now, one man has taught all along that we should not forget what happened in 1976. How can we reenact, reassure, acknowledge, and let these people know that their sacrifices were not in vain? The things we celebrate these days will not be anything compared to what those guys did. Invaluable, greater and more precious than gold, what they did in 1976. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for 1 minute. Rise for 1 minute. For two reasons. Some of those heroes in 1976 are no more here with us. May their souls rest in peace. Second reason, we would, in a round of applause, thank Alain Oyama for going back to 1976, for doing what nobody else in the world has ever done. Ron Freeman has gone through the record books and he says to the NIIA, what Air Peace is doing today, nobody has ever done it in the world. A round of applause for Alain Oyama. Thank you. You may sit. Please be seated. Please be seated. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm very glad now to invite the chair to declare this occasion open. Thank you and thank you. The chairman, sir.
So this is generosity, the not start listing. It's something that is in his DNA, and it's something that has manifested itself. Whether it's lifting us out of trouble in Sudan, in South Africa, or wherever it is, it's ready to go. And I'm grateful to you. On behalf of Nigeria, for being a no-go Nigeria. Thank you very much. And to my DG, well, praising him is like praising myself. Because NIIA is an institution that attracts the best in the field. Earlier this morning, as I was getting dressed, I kept one eye on Arise, and there was the acting director of research educating us on what was happening in Nigeria. And I said, yeah, that's NIIA for you. Educate protecting the country so that we don't get caught unawares by the consequences of what's happening. Well, Mr. DP, thank you for allowing me to say these few words, and I will stop there and call on our special guest, Dr. Alan Yana, to deliver his remarks.
Chairman Christian Chukwu, like I told you yesterday, it was a privilege being in your midst. Christian Chukwu happens to be in both the 1976 Olympics team and captain the 1980 team that won the first African Cup of Nations for Nigeria, that then called the Green Eagles, before the name changed to Super Eagles later in the 80s. Chairman Christian Chukwu, you are very much welcome. If I don't mention this name, I might not get my dose at home. So, my dear lovely wife, Mrs. Alice Ojochide, and welcome. And of course, the ones that have proved that we'll be doing this today, Kike and others, you did a good job by recognizing them, because they would have drawn their signatures, and I may not have been able to do something this evening. I'm talking about my 4 children, who also are shareholders in the company and all the companies. So kids, you're no longer I recognize you. I recognize all of you. Now today, I feel highly grateful to God Almighty that in my life I've been meeting these heroes that have done Nigeria, that have brought Nigeria so much honors in the past. It actually started I think 2 years ago. Each time I ran into Shegodegwami, I would say, Uncle Shege, I would like to celebrate you guys. He said, what? I said, the 1980 Green Eagles that won the African Cup of Nations for the first time for our country. But I would like to celebrate you people. That seems everybody has forgotten what people have done for the nation. I was not even looking at sports, in itself per se. I was looking at the unity they brought to the country. I'm looking at the things because the DJ talked about it too. Sports has become a very powerful tool for social cohesion and nation building and unity. So I was thinking of something to do to use it to contribute to the act of nation building, to use it to bring the youth of today to understand that there were people who in the past sacrificed for the country. So I told Chief Olusegun Odegbami that I would like to honor the team of 1980. He was very happy. Very, very happy. I give him the credit for all that is happening today, actually. Because if I have the money, but all the money in the world cannot give you the brain and everything to organize this kind of event and make it to come to fruition. So he took it immediately and said, it's worth doing. Then I told him the reasons why I wanted to do it. But it's all about nation building. I love this country, and I have no apologies to anybody, living or dead, for saying that I love Nigeria. So when I told him this, he said, okay, in that case, there are another set of people. The people that went to the Olympics in 1976. And I was like, 1976, how old was I in 1976? About 10 years or thereabout. So I didn't know about that at all. So he told me the story about a group of people, youth, who had sacrificed their education, sacrificed so much of their personal comfort to train for about 4 years. Went through the qualification series, then qualified to go to the Olympics, got to the Olympics, There were 8 days in Montreal, some few hours for this to start. They were called back by their nation because Nigeria was leading the frontline states then to help our brothers in Southern Africa to get freedom. Because that was the thick and thin of apartheid then. Their hopes were shattered. And in them, we had world beaters, just as the DG said. Remember, the Green Eagles that was representing Africa in the football game then beat the Canadian team during a friendly match in Canada, 3-0. That same useless Canadian team went up to semi-finals in the Olympics. On their way to Canada, they beat so many countries in Europe, warm-up matches. 5-0, 3-0, 2-0. So everybody was expecting the Nigerian Green Eagles to win the gold medal in football. Of course, you have Charlton Hussein, who was beating the world, I think, in triple jump, long jump. Yeah, in long jump. So everybody was expecting him to, clinch the gold. You have Mr. Bruce here, who is in Bola Hat. Yes, he was part of the team also. They were young men and women. You have Modibo Shikoya. They went there and they were told to pack their bags and go home. They were all crying, but they obeyed their country. They respected their nation and came back. Like the chairman said, Professor Balajaki said here, they were not honored when they came back. They were dispersed to their various homes. Some of them today are dead. Many of them didn't realize the opportunities or recovered from that particular incident to date. When he told me this, my world changed. I felt so bad. I said, in that case, include them. And he told me, he said, Alan, are you sure you're going to do this? It's going to cost a lot. And I told him that whatever we make Nigeria become one, I will do it. That we cannot go to our graves with our wallets, but I can smile in my graves if I remember any legacy I must have left behind. So it was very encouraging. Sheikh did the rest. He was running around. It was his idea that we build this wall of fame you're going to see unveiled today outside. At first I said, do we go to National Stadium? He said, no, let's use the NIIA because of sports diplomacy. He sold the idea to the DG. DG bought it and went to work immediately and agreed that we come and situate it here. At first, I thought I was going to do it at the National Stadium in Surulere, but seeing what happened here, and I agree with them that let's do it here. And today, this place will become another tourist site in no distant time. I look forward. I was told that some of them left their hotel where we camped them and came here yesterday and started crying. Just seeing their names on the wall, started crying. I was in the hall yesterday and when some of them were making speeches and they broke down and started crying. They never knew this day would come. If a country does not recognize those who must have made certain sacrifices for them, then you've not started the art or acts of nation building. You can only have a nation when your nation begins to recognize the sacrifices of heroes. In that, I decided to do what we are going to do today. You don't know the joy in my heart. Those people I used to hear their names on radio whenever they were playing, Christian Chukwu, Emmanuel Okala, Shefiu Mohammed, Sani Mohammed, Babotu Mohammed, all of them are out there today. I felt dwarfed being in their presence yesterday, and I told them, I'm not doing you any favor for bringing all of you here. I'm not doing you any favor. You are doing me a world of favor, allowing me to even be in your midst. Money is not everything. So, these are the people we are celebrating today. These are the people we are going to unveil in the next few minutes out there, because they deserve whatever they are going to get today. We must believe in our nation. What we are doing is to encourage broad nationalism as against ethnic nationalism. Because in these teams, you find the entire Nigeria. I've just named people from the north for you: Babotu Mohammed, Shefiu Mohammed, Sani Mohammed. We're all members of the team. You have the Okalas and Sibanos Okbala, okay, Sima from the east. You have Olusegun Odegbami, Mudashiru Lawame, his soul rest in peace. You have Samuel Jebode, you have Tunde Bamidele, you have Basi from Cross River. The entire nation represented in these teams. We must encourage them. We must let the youths of today, aspire to do something for their country, believing that one day they may be recognized by their nation. This is why we are doing this. Imagine today's Nigeria. If you are taking all this, during this Japa syndrome, if you are taking Nigerians of today, the youths of today, to Canada for Olympics, and remember, in the Olympics, if your country withdraws, you can decide to stay and participate on your name. They had the choices to have stayed, but they respected their nation. How do we want the youths of today to respect any call from this nation if we fail to recognize the sacrifices of those before them? This is why we have to use them to, lead by example, show example with them, recognize them. And I'm happy with the participation of the NIIA in this whole event, because you've given it the government backing, sort of, so that our youth will begin to understand that whatever they do, someday, somehow, their country would recognize them. If you are taking the youth of today to Canada, and they've been in Canada for 8 days, prepared for this occasion for 4 years, and at the end of the day, you tell them to come back, nobody is coming back home. But these ones decided to come back home. We must honor them. May God bless my country, Nigeria. Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to call on the one we fondly refer to in the House as IG, to please come forward and share his thoughts with us on the fourth conversation, from Olympic boycotts to hosting the world, West Africa's march to FIFA 2034.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. Imagine for a moment that you've gone to university for 4 years, and on the day you are to graduate, somebody tells you that you're not receiving your diploma. That is exactly what happened to the 1976 Olympic team from Nigeria and 28 other countries. Of the 28 countries, 22 were from Africa and 6 were from outside of Africa. Why? Why is it that you spend your entire life preparing for the Olympic Games and then your country tells you to come home? You look at the situation, you did not commit any offense, you did not violate any rule, you did not do anything wrong. You've worked your entire life, day and night, preparing for this one moment, and now somebody has snatched it away from you. How would you feel? And by the way, you're not quite sure why they snatched it away from you. An event that happened somewhere else, apartheid in South Africa was a devastating, very brutal system of government. But it was not Nigeria. It was in Ghana. The athletes of this country were sacrificed on the altar of the anti-apartheid struggle. The athletes of this country helped to dismantle one of the most brutal systems of all time. And for that, they should be recognized. The Soweto uprising, it is the first time that youths or anybody stood up to the apartheid regime in South Africa. So then, why then, New Zealand, do you think it's a good idea to send athletes to go on tour in South Africa? You just saw what happened. Then on the 30th of June, you now send your rugby team to go and play in South Africa. So the African nation said, no, we have an Olympics coming up. And if you send this rugby team to South Africa to play, and you allow them to go to the Olympics, we're not coming. That's it. We're boycotting. We're not coming to the Olympics. New Zealand and South Africa have been playing rugby against each other since 1921. So at that time, it was a 55-year-old rivalry. The government of New Zealand said that we're no more sending teams to play. In 1972, the government said we're no more sending teams to go and play in South Africa. The opposition party in New Zealand now said, look, right before the 1975 election, they now said, if you elect us to come into power, we will send the team back to South Africa. And they won the election in a landslide. So on that promise, they now sent the team to South Africa, and the African country said, no, we can't. And that is the basis of the rugby tour of 1976. 2 weeks after the Soweto uprising, the Supreme Council of Sport for Africa, led by Chief Abraham Ordia as the president, he's a Nigerian, he stood up and he announced the boycott. In fact, as I understand it, he met with the 1976 team in Montreal. He made the announcement that they are coming home. Now, 27 countries boycotted the Olympics. Of those 27, 17 never entered. 10 entered and withdrew their athletes. In fact, Cameroon was participating in cycling where they have to pull the cyclists off the bike and say, yeah, we are going home. That's it. That's what happened. 174 athletes in athletics alone were impacted. The 1976 boycott was the biggest anti-racism campaign in history. We have one here. This is a picture of a young Philbert Baye. Mr. Baye, can you stand, please? This is him. That is him. That is him at the Commonwealth Games, where he set the world record at that event in the Commonwealth Games. And what makes it special is that he set the world record by defeating Johnny Walker on home soil. That is his track. The entire 1976 Olympic team sacrificed the dream. They did the 4 years of university. They were not given the degree. The football teams of Nigeria and Zambia, Obisia Mwamba, we had athletes from Uganda, world record holders, that were ready to make some noise, but on the sacrifice of a bigger cause, they came home. The last thing I want to talk about in the time we have left is it possible to bring the World Cup to West Africa? The World Cup now has 48 teams. Beginning in 2026, the World Cup is now too big for one country to host. At the 2026 World Cup, it will be hosted by the US, Canada, and Mexico, 3 countries across 16 different host sites. Might we be able to create a situation in 2034 where the World Cup comes to West Africa? But why would you want a World Cup in West Africa? The reason is because of the regional connectivity, skills acquisition. Imagine being able to drive from Yaoundé all the way to Dakar and take a ferry to Cape Verde. These are all ECOWAS countries. You do not need a passport to get in, right? So the infrastructure benefits of being able to connect the region because of the World Cup. And also, by the way, I might add that countries that host the World Cup have a problem after the tournament because they build these big stadiums and then after the tournament, there's nobody to use the stadiums, and the stadiums cost money to maintain. But if you do a regional World Cup, every country has at least one functional stadium that can be used even after the World Cup. So how would that work? With the colorful pageant that we have in West Africa, I will leave you with this.
Much more promising in the second half. Revolution!
The official unveiling of the Wall of Fame here at the Nigerian Institute of Nigerian International Affairs here at the Victoria Island in Lagos. Quite a memorable ceremony, a unique event, I tell you, and something we remember for a very long time to come. The who or the creme de la creme of Nigerian sports are very much on hand and interesting as far as I'm concerned. Quite dramatic, quite exciting as this Wall of Fame actually is being unveiled. Big thanks to Peace Airline. A lot of dignitaries are very much here to be part of this ceremony. Quite a unique occasion. We are Nigerian athletes, those who did Nigerian proud at different times. And even though that we are really abandoned as far as the 1976 Olympics is concerned, are being honored. Appreciation to those who were abandoned at the time. Don't forget the 1976 Olympic squad of Nigeria, and not forgetting the 1980 all-conquering Green Eagles squad. Most of the members are here. Not forgetting the former Nigerian boxer Obisi Awankpa, and not forgetting Gloria Obajimi and other athletes who have really helped to do Nigeria proud. Chairman Christian Chibu very much in the house.
But just look at everything. Very colorful. I'm very happy to be here today. Yes, to be remembered, I'm very happy.
Thank you coming back to 1980, seeing your teammates of yesteryear here after many years.
This is the first time out of 47 years we are meeting here. You know, a lot of them, you know, all of us, you know, we are now cracking jokes. You see the way we are cracking jokes.
It's a live show on Eagle 7 Sports Radio, broadcasting globally, and we have the Chief Justice himself, Dr. Amesemeka. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Okay, how do you feel? You're looking very young still.
Oh, well, thank you very much. So are you.
You have your colleagues in your front.
Yeah, this is more like a reunion. 40, how many years now? Some 47, some 42 years since we last met. And I'm thankful to God that we are all here today. Some of us have passed on. Well, that is life. For those of us who are here today, I'm sure we speak the minds of the entire squad, both 76 and 80. That we are very grateful to the creator of the universe for the privilege to represent our country, beloved country, in different capacities, for the recognition that some of us have also been privileged to have even before now. Not to talk of this icing on the cake, as it were. I commend my former teammate Shegun Odegbami for being a worthy coordinator. I commend the Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs for what we see now. And of course, the Chairman of Air Peace, Dr. Onyema, for his wonderful gesture. So, in a word, excited beyond words.
The heroes of those years are great, because today it is very difficult to organize such kind of thing, to put the loyalty to the nation, to say you have trained for 4 years, and all of a sudden they say no game for you, and you accept. So we are glad that we are remembering these heroes, and will continue to do so. And I think I'm glad that I'm here. It took me time to come over here, but I think I'm going back with a very, very fantastic memory. Especially, I saw some of my colleagues from.
I wanted to say that maybe you're playing colleagues or colleagues, and you've not seen for a long time.
Yes, my colleague in the sport administration in the game, like Mr. Mbaye, all the way from Tanzania, is a very big picture of sports in Africa. So I'm glad we are here, and I'll come again.
Well, I feel pleasure. I mean, to be invited in this type of event, sometimes you get hyper, because you didn't expect. And I just congratulate who did this commemoration of getting together, all those athletes who missed the 1976 Olympic Games, and congratulate the AFCON champions of 1980 of Nigerians. So to me, it is a privilege to join them in this type of an event. I think this event, I should say, it is the first one in the world. I can say I never had any country giving attribute to their athletes. And this one here, for those who manage and make it, I think I say God bless them all.
So what's the charge to African governments and, of course, corporate world in Africa?
Well, I'm at the moment, I'm the Secretary General of the National Olympic Committee, but as you know, my history back in the 70s, I had 2 world records in 1 mile and 1,500 meters. And my 1,500 meters, which I broke at the Commonwealth Games in Christchurch, New Zealand, stood for 48 years. It was just broken last year. And I also the silver medalist of 1980s Olympic Games in Moscow. And this is my accreditations. And I'm happy to be here and join my friends. My competition started here in Nigeria in 1973 at the Olafan Games at Surulere Stadium. So my journey started from there. And that's why I'm back again in Surulere, here in Lagos.
I will tell you the truth that this is one of the most innovative ideas I've seen. In fact, I had one of the awardees here saying 42 years after, and I'm still alive. This will give life to many of them, knowing that in their lifetime they are being honored. It's a fantastic idea by the chairman of Peace.
I want to thank all behind the brain behind this project. It's a wonderful project, and it shows hard work. When one is working, it seems as if the world may have forgotten. One day, what world has done will still come to limelight, and that is what we are seeing today.
My name is Idi Uyo. I am a sports consultant based in Atlanta, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Now, I feel a sense of accomplishment. This is 47 years overdue. The athletes went to Canada. They were withdrawn through no fault of their own, but it took almost a half century for this recognition to come into place. But it's better late than never. Some of the wounds will never heal. But the fact of the matter is that through the generosity of Mr. Onyema and the vision and foresight of the DG of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, stewarded by Chief Segun Odegbami as an ambassador of the Institute, they've made this day happen. And this is something that nobody can ever take from this institute. So at the very least, we now know that these athletes' names have been memorialized forever. It took a long time, but at least it has happened now. And that is the important thing. These are champions. It is on the strength of the 1980 Green Eagles that 5 years later, we had the Under-17 World Golden Eaglets that won the FIFA World Cup Under-17 in China in 1985. So, I mean, this team set a standard, a foundation of excellence. And so it's nice to reward them today.
It's nice, mixing up with most of the legends.
I'm sure you've seen most of your colleagues for a long time.
Yes, exactly. I saw them. I met them, and I'm so happy. It's very, very, very good enough to be honored because I'm so much, I'm happy.
I think this is a great event, and the kind of people that this event has attracted shows how much the private sector thinks of sports in Nigeria. And if we can harness all this resource towards the athletes, I think that Nigeria will achieve the potential that it has. And we've always said that with the amount of resources and talent that we have in this country, if only we can direct it properly and focus on the athletes and have the private sector drive sports in Nigeria, Nigeria will be one of the top 5 sporting nations in the world.
This is very important. It's a statement for us as a people to show that love of country, which is what many people find difficult to understand today, is the foundation for all that we will do. When you have love of country, you are fired to conquer the world. This is what these people did.
A portrait of the son of the MD-CEO of Peace Airline. Talk about Alan Onyema. That's his son. At least he told us a moment ago that his family is very much in support of him regarding this program. He's spending so much on.
I'm too elated. I'm too happy because the labor of our heroes past must not be in vain. That's what we've always said. And I'm glad that even if we cannot touch all of them at the same time, we can touch them once in a while. Touching the 1976 Olympians who withdrew and the Nations Cup 1980 is very important to me. The next in my agenda that I want Nigeria to do is the 1973 All-African Games conquering team. That's the first team to conquer Africa. For
one gold medal for.
Yes, and quite a number of them are still alive, including Emmanuel Ekala and all of them. Josie Dombraye. A lot of them are still alive. Kenneth Olayombo, and those that are passed on, their families are still around. But this is good turnaround, U-turn for Nigeria to celebrate their heroes past, so that those ones presently here now will give their best, knowing that they will be honored. And I'm glad that NIIA is a part of government, and this is wonderful. It's also calling it Wall of Fame instead of Hall of Fame. This is unique.
I've not really heard of Wall of Fame before, and this wall here is unique.
Yes, and of course, all these veterans, you can see their happiness in them. Even those with very bad legs, they are happy, and this is good.
47 years, I didn't see that.
It's not easy.
I didn't see a mess maker. I didn't recognize me until they say he is a mess maker. So I'm so happy.
Okay. 1976 in Montreal, Canada, when we pulled up from the Olympic Games. We were young at the time. We were very young. I mean, we were at our prime age. Some of us were 19 years old, 18 years old, and we were pulled out within hours of the opening ceremony without letting us know what was going on. And brought us back to Nigeria and just dumped us. Didn't tell us anything, didn't compensate us, didn't honor us. But we didn't know down the road this will trigger a change, and I understand that at the end of, when we left Montreal, the day after that, there were over 1,000 newspapers around the world that published apartheid African boycott. So that sort of opened up the door for people to begin to focus on South Africa. We were used as pawns. But this is good. Dr. Oyema and Professor Saga and then our friend Shegun Degbami have done a very good project. This will help our Nigerian youths. When they hear about this, they'll realize there are still very good people in this country that can make changes.
So Nigerians, to me, has always turned out athletes, great athletes. And I'm so proud.
If you make certain sacrifices for your nations, you will be rewarded, which is the opposite of what reality of today is. Trying to encourage people to do certain things for the nation, not necessarily always about money, but about the actions and the visions behind doing certain things. Just encouraging that oneness, that togetherness. Stop thinking ethnicity, but together, like nationality, broad nationality. And that's what this is all about, basically. Because behind me is Wall of Fame of the 1978 Olympians who went to Canada for the Olympics, but were called back by President Olusegun Obasanjo. Because we were trying to stand in solidarity with South Africa, who was going through the apartheid at the time. And basically, these people could have gone far in their career, their lives could have been different, but you know what they said? They were going to honor the call that their country was making for a just cause and come back and respect their nation's wishes. And if you look across the board, you see different people from different ethnicity, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, all togetherness. And that's what sports brings in this country, togetherness. And that's what honoring them is trying to preach to Nigerians today, basically.
The atmosphere has been very, very amazing. We all gathered together at a time
And we were discussing about the past, particularly with the group of the 1976 Olympic team that were supposed to have participated, but were asked to call back. The experiences were so bitter that they had to come out to say that government has always not been doing the right thing for athletes, particularly when they are no longer on the stage. We want to use this opportunity to thank the media, print and electronics for the role also you are playing to us today. I feel very happy, top of the world, like I've said, and I'm glad for this kind gesture.
So this is very truly exciting. I'm just so grateful. I'm happy. It is the end of frustration, depression for 47 years. This occasion brings a close to all the pain that has been there hidden for 47 years. So we are very happy. We have now been put on the wall of fame forever and ever. There's nothing bigger than this now. So we just be happy, they celebrate.
It must have been energy sapping. You began it some years ago or some months back, and suddenly it's now a reality. How has it been relating with your colleagues, your former teammates of yesteryears? Chief Odegba?
Well, it's celebration all over. It's celebration all over. You know, the reunification with my mates, my colleagues from 1976. Some that I never saw in 47 years, before some people were born. You know, now we are seeing each other again, and we can't just stop sharing experiences and the good times we had in those days. And, all of us now being grateful to God that things are changing. Things have changed. It's not that things are changing. Things have changed overnight. We can see the future. We can see hope. Now we can receive some things that can take us to where we have never been before. That's where we are going. This is the beginning of something new. It's not the end. It's an end, but it's the beginning of something new.